fire hose you with so much information, it makes it hard to implement. So we're going to be meeting this time over today, Wednesday, and Thursday. So then you have time to implement, time to figure out what it is that you need to do and all of those things. And then we can hopefully have a better success rate in showing up in all of the areas that you want to be showing up. So yeah, 3 days is what we're looking at.
Cool.
So, okay. So this is the subconscious connection challenge. We are really going to dive into how do you create connections with people? How do you create an energy that is magnetic, that pulls people in? And I want this to be really interactive. So I've got a couple of you on here with us, and we'll send the replay out to a lot more people. But I don't want you to feel like you have to keep your cameras off and like this is going to be interactive. We're going to be talking to each other, asking questions, things like that. The more I can help you in your specific situation, the better able you're going to be able to apply what we're talking about. So just by a little bit of introduction for those of you who we haven't had the privilege of meeting in person yet, my name is Trisha Peterson. I've been studying the brain and the energy of the body for at least the last decade, some modalities a little bit longer. I tend to be a certification junkie because I love learning. I love learning how everything works together, not just the physical body, even though that's super fascinating and what my background is in. I like understanding how the energy of our body and the soul and the spirit all work together to create the experience that we are having right now. So I've worked with thousands of clients. I actually just got off a call with a client, and we worked through so many blocks that like I feel like I'm on fire because there's so many cool things when we look at here is the physical that's happening, but what's going on underneath it and what's the psychological piece, what's the energetic piece. And when we pull all of those things together, that's when real change starts to happen. And it's really, really exciting. So we also traveled with my family. It was about a year ago that we bought our house. But we traveled the United States for 3 years, and we did that solely because of the coaching that I was doing at that time. We left right at the beginning of COVID. I had a brand new baby. He was 6 weeks old when we left, and we just traveled the United States for 3 years, and it was really, really awesome. Carrie Lynn, do you want to introduce yourself since you are on camera?
Camera and live. Oh, well, I can't see me, but
I can see you.
I'm Carrie Lynn. I don't know. I don't even know how to introduce myself, actually. I just started a new business, so need to attract people, I guess. Well, not started a new facet to my business because I've had the business for 20 years. So doing something very creative. I do custom drapery and stuff. I still paint and do a few other things, but custom drapery has become the bread and butter now and stuff. And yeah, live in Canada, have a husband. One son is 22. I call him my, dropout because he was that COVID kid who got kicked out of school up here in Canada and basically just told, okay, but you graduated
That's awesome.
and stuff. Yes.
Tell us one interesting fact about you.
One interesting fact. I have a 140-pound dog.
That's fun. What kind of
Yes,
dog?
it's called an Illyrian Shepherd. Everybody thinks he's a bear. Very large and fluffy.
That's awesome.
Yes, he's my cutie pie.
Ursula, I know you're on here. I don't know if you have a moment where you want to come and introduce yourself. If not, we'll just keep moving on. Give you a second. If you're just listening in, that's okay too. All right. If you can't come on, please feel free to use the chat. We can talk back and forth that way. There will be things that I have you guys comment on too. So, um,
I'm sorry. It took me like 15 minutes to find the unmute button
that's
somehow.
awesome. No, that's
I'm
fine.
sorry. I'm like, where is it? I could,
So tell
yeah.
us a little bit
Now
about
let's put the
yourself.
camera on. So I'm coming today. My name's Ursula. I also have a COVID kid, 22, graduation ruined, high school, the whole thing, no college. So I have that in common with the other lady that was on the phone. And I worked with American Express for 34 years. I asked for an early retirement package in the middle of COVID because I realized that I really didn't want to do that anymore. I just figured I could retire. Because at the same time, I was working with Arbonne and having a lot of success with their products. And I did have a lot of success with my business until I didn't. So trying to kind of get my mojo back, if you will, because I do love the products. I still use them. They really work. But I don't know. I've gotten into kind of a slump.
Yeah, for sure. So this is definitely something that can help pull you out of that slump. I have lots
Cool.
of tools that can work for you. So I'm glad that you're here. Tell us
Now I gotta mute myself again.
well, before you
Oh,
mute yourself, what is
oh,
one
sorry.
interesting thing? Can you share something interesting about you?
Um, let's see, something interesting about me. I think I have I don't really know I don't really know what to say what's interesting about me. I think that I am working again part-time. I took a part-time job kind of just for fun in the new neighborhood that I live in since COVID, in a physical therapy office where I was a patient. So I liked it so much here I didn't want to finish physical therapy, so I got a job here.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Well, I'm glad that you're here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, of course. All right. So we are going to jump in before we get too deep in all of the neuro attraction model that I'm going to take you through and all of the in-depth pieces. I want to really set you guys up for success. Not only success in this challenge, but success in everything that you do. And so before we get going, I want you to give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to maybe do things a little bit differently. Anytime I'm setting up an intention, I always follow the 3Ds. First, you need to decide what it is that you want to do. So I want you to take a minute, and if you printed off the workbook, there's a place in here for you to go through each of these things. But deciding what you want to do. What is it that you want out of this challenge? What is it that you want your business to do? What is it that you want to be attracting more of? Decide that now and be very, very specific about what it is that you want. And then I'm going to have you declare it. So I want you to actually write it in the comments. I want you to declare it to those of us who are here and those who are watching the replay. I want them to join in because you need to be declaring out loud what it is that you want. When you declare things and there are witnesses to that, your chances of doing those things actually increase. I think it's 38%. Don't quote me on that. It's either 38 or 28. I don't remember. But just by declaring what it is that you want, the chances of you actually following through skyrocket. And so we want you to get into a place where you're going to be doing the things that you actually intend to be doing. Because when we step into a place where you say, oh, yeah, that's what I want to do, but then we end up not doing that, then you have a problem within yourself because you no longer can trust what you say is actually going to happen. And when we create a disconnect within us, we feel that everywhere around you. So by deciding what it is that you want, declaring out loud what it is that you're going to do, and then creating a plan and actually doing those things, is the very first step to creating an intention that gets you closer to the person that you want to be. And so we're going to be talking about this journey of becoming a lot over the next couple of days. But it all begins with that permission to do things just a little bit differently, to do things where you could say, like, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do. And then actually taking the steps to do that. So I want you to write that in the comments. I'm going to give you just a second because I don't want this to be one of those events where you just sit back and watch and you don't actually implement anything. We are inundated with so much information today and not enough action. So we want to put you into a place where you're taking action in the things that you're committing to do. Nobody wants to share? There we go. Okay, Ursula, I'm going to commit to spending an hour first thing in the morning to completing my daily methods of success. That's awesome. For me, that first really half an hour to 2 hours that's my time. So I love that. Carrie Lynn, I want to attract high-end designers to work together and create fun window treatments to make their clients smile and feel energized in their homes. That's awesome. So Carrie Lynn, are you looking specifically for like home builders or designers? Do you know specifically who you're
home builders or cookie cutters. I want the high-end designers who are actually working with a client
okay.
and stuff, and who have that fun energy and want to bring it to people.
Perfect. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you for declaring those because I think that it's really, really important that we take those steps to actually committing to the energy. So I'm glad that you are committed to that. Okay, with those intentions, we're going to come back to those as we keep moving forward. So I want you to hold those intentions close to you because it's something that we're going to help you work towards. All right, so our external world is really just a reflection of what is happening on the inside of us. And so when we look at, we know what we want, we know who we want to attract, but when those people aren't being attracted to us, the only reason that that happens, well, it happens for one of two reasons. And so if you saw my stories this morning, I talked about there are two big mistakes that people fall into, and it is this right here. So when we are not attracting the people that we want in our space, there's something internally, there's something within us that is blocking the energy of that coming towards us. And so when we address the energy of what it is that we're putting out, maybe we really want to bring in these clients, but then it's like, oh, I don't know if that's, who I want to work with, or I don't know if I can work with them, or you begin to doubt what you're capable of, or you say like, oh, I feel like I'm such a hypocrite because this and this isn't working out. And oh, I wish that I had XYZ in place first. And so we say we want to attract these people, but the energy that we're putting out is saying like, no, actually, I don't think, like, I want this quality of client, but I'm attracting just this quality of client because there's something inside you that says, oh, that's what we deserve to have. And so that's the energy that we want to shift. And we actually are going to be doing a little bit of that today and a lot of that tomorrow. But we want to be able to start to shift some of that energy so that you can show up. The second reason that we aren't attracting people because that we inside say, these are the things that I want, but we show up so inconsistently. We show up, it's like maybe once or twice a week, or we show up and we're hit and miss in the things that we talk about. And that inconsistency, not only if you're talking social media, does it confuse the algorithm? Like, are you talking about it? Are you not talking about it? Yes, it's going to do all of that, but it's also going to confuse your energy because where are you focusing? You're over here and over there, and you're so all over the place. And so we are internally confused and conflicted in all the things that we're doing. So then when we try to portray that out in the external world, it doesn't know what to send back to it. So if things are not working in the external world out here, then you know that there's something on the inside that needs to be shifted. If that's where you are at, then you're in the right place because we're going to be working on that specifically over the next couple of days. And I want to give you tangible tools that you can take to figure out what's going on the inside. So then I can start attracting the people that I want to have. But it always begins on the inside first. Okay. So when we have that, just like we began with the intentions and where it is that we're going, if we're going to be attracting people, we have to have a solid foundation. You can attract people, but if you don't have a foundation, then people are just going to like come and go, and they're going to end up passing by because you don't have a firm place for them to stand. They don't understand what is going on and what in the world you're doing and those kind of things. So most of you, I think both of you, at least on the call right now, have a foundation. You know who it is that you want to attract. You know what it is that you're going to be offering to them. So that's important. But you also want to define, what is my mission? Do you know why you're doing the things that you're doing? Do you know what it is that you want to do to make a difference in the world? Because if you're just showing up like, oh, I want to help people, or oh, I want them to be healthy, or I want their homes to be pretty, all of those kind of things, they're good and it's a good goal and a good desire. But why are you doing that in the first place? This is something that I want you to reflect on, because if you don't have that solid, why are you doing and what difference are you creating, then anytime someone comes in your space, they actually aren't going to stay very long because there's nothing solid for them to stand on. We often dream, especially when we're talking about missions and things like that, we stay really high because it's things that haven't happened yet. I want to make a difference. I want to help 10 million people. I want to be able to make $1 million. I want to do all these things. So we have this dream and mission that we want to create, but because none of them are tangible, they stay up here. Well, then people can't come in and support you in those dreams because they don't see it. And so there becomes, again, this disconnect. You'll notice time and time again, we're going to talk about a disconnect that happens within us. And it's the reason that we're not attracting the people into our space because of that disconnect. When you know what mission you want to create, what difference you want to make in the world, and what it is that you want to do, and you bring that down to a, this is where I want to be, and this is what I'm working on kind of level, then when people come into our space, it's like, oh, I see what they're doing. Okay, I can jump on board with that because we created that foundation. So take just a second, and I want you to reflect on, do you know what your mission is? Do you know why you're doing the things that you're doing? It is so, so important for you to understand that mission that drives everything. So I'm going to give you a minute. I was debating, do I give you a minute to reflect on that? Write some things down. I really, really want to be workshopping with you because otherwise it's more information isn't going to help you. You have all the information you need, but we need action plans. We need steps in place. We need tangible things that can help us move forward. So I'm going to give you just a minute to reflect on that mission. once you know the mission, the why behind what it is that you're doing, I should say drop like a heart or something in the comments if you're done. I told you I want this interactive. Perfect. Okay. So once you have an understanding of what it is you're creating and what you want to do for people, then we have to begin with the end in mind. And we have to start building tools on top of that. And so this is maybe it's your offer, what it is that you want to create. Maybe you don't know your offer yet. Maybe you are like, I know this is the general thing that I want to help people with, but I don't know if this is the specific vehicle to get me there. If you don't have an offer specifically yet of like, I'm going to offer coaching packages or I'm going to offer so many draperies or whatever, like if you don't know exactly what that offer is, that will come. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about that today just because that's not the step that we're working through. But if you want help figuring out what it is and how do you package it to start bringing people into that, let me know. And that's something that we can definitely work through. But you have to know what it is that you want to create and then breaking that up into milestones. Another way that I put this is mile markers. Because I traveled for so long, it became very clear to me that when we set goals, that is like our destination. And we say, this is where we want to be. But when you're traveling across the United States, so I've gone all the way across the United States 4 times, and it's a very long drive. And so when you're going back and forth, you look for the little things along the way, the little stops, the next adventure that we're going to go do. And sometimes it's the mile markers, like, oh, we hit mile marker 100. When you take your big goals and you break them down into things that are easier accomplished, that is going to help you stay focused so that you're not moving forward in things that are getting you off track a little bit. I call this self-sabotage all the time, where it's like, I'm going to go here. And then we start going and it's like, oh, but this looks really pretty. And we end up off course. And self-sabotage is a big thing that it affects so many people today. And we don't even recognize all of the patterns that are coming in through that self-sabotage because we think, well, this is the next good thing. And so as we're moving forward to what it is that we want to create, as we're moving forward on that, yes, a squirrel, same idea. So as you're moving forward and we get pulled off on these little side tangents, and I have had that happen before, and I've been on a side tangent that lasted me 2.5 years. And for me to be like, oh yeah, actually, this is where we're going. It's actually a lot of work to bring it back when you've been gone for so long. And so if we create these mile markers along the way, that's going to help get you moving in the right direction and stay focused on where it is that you want to be moving. Okay. So now that we know that we have our foundation, that we know hopefully that you have an offer or something that you want to pull people into that's going to give you that destination, so to speak. Now we can start working on attracting people. And how do we attract people to ultimately the mission that you are working towards? And we're going to do that through the offer. When we are talking about attraction, there's a lot of different ways that we can talk about how to get into a place where you are attracting people. Some people call it flow. Some people call it state. Some people call it being in the groove. There's a lot of different ways that we can approach where you need to be, where you can be in this place where you are creating this magnetic field. But it all comes down to, do you have the specific things in place to help you be able to create that state. So I'm just going to call it state because that's where my training comes in. But if you call it flow, if you call it the groove, know that we're talking about the exact same thing. So what do you need to do to enter into this state? And we're talking, okay, your brain is going to want to go to what's the tangible things that I have to do. I want to know how many times I have to be posting on social media. I want to know what platform is the best place for me to be in. I want to know all of the tangible things because then your brain doesn't have to freak out and we just follow the steps. But it actually doesn't work that way because those are all of the physical pieces and they play an important part. We talked about how consistency is one of the biggest reasons that pulls people out of this state where you can be attracting people. And it's the physical side. They are important, but I want you to notice it's only one piece. If one of any of these four pieces are missing, you're actually not going to be attracting. And if multiple are missing, you're actually going to be repelling the very people that you want to be working with. And so, yes, the physical side is important. We're going to be talking about the physical side tomorrow, but it's not the most important thing. Today, we're going to be really diving into the emotional side of things. So we're going to get really deep into how do we, on an emotional level, get to a place where we can be attracting people. And then the last piece is the spiritual side. Okay, I shouldn't say the last piece. The last piece of the triangle of this model is the spiritual side. And so each day we're going to be taking one piece of all of these because the whole thing on the outside, so that circle around the outside, there's a reason that in the model it's kind of faded out and not a defined thing because physical, emotional, and spiritual all happen on the inside of us. They're the things that we are tangibly doing, but that circle creates state. When we fit all of the pieces together and they're all tucked in exactly where they need to be, that's what puts you into flow. That's what puts you into state. A lot of people will be like, oh, but I have, like, I know what I'm creating and I'm doing all of the physical things, but the emotional side of us is off and you can't get into state if you're not all put together. So that's the last piece, is actually stepping into that flow. We're going to be talking about that state through the next couple of days. So today we're going to be focusing on specifically the emotional side. Tomorrow we'll do the physical side. And then Thursday we'll talk about the spiritual side and how all of those things play together. And as we go, each day I'm going to give you specific tools that you can put in place where if you're just not feeling it that day, but you want to be posting every day because you want to create that consistency, what can you do, again, that's tangible, that allows you to step into that place where you can come into state and allow that energy to be working with you so that you create that magnetic field around you. So this is the model that we're going to be working with as we move forward. So I wanted you to be able to see the model broken down so that as we go through today, the emotional side, you're not thinking, well, they're different pieces. It actually all plays together and they all need to be locked together in order for you to actually step into that state. Okay, makes sense? Any questions? All right, we're going to move forward. So we're going to be talking about the emotional side today. Like I said, emotions are really the drivers behind our thoughts and what it is that you do, those behaviors. When we understand what happens on a physiological level, how all of those things work together. A lot of times we think, oh, emotions are separate from what you're thinking, especially if you are more left brain. We tend to be more black and white, more like it's this way or the highway. And everything is compartmentalized in different boxes. Like this is the emotion box and that's the thought box. But it actually doesn't happen that way. Everything is all intertwined. The only thing that I didn't put on here that really has an effect, which we're sadly not going to be talking about this week in this challenge, but those are our beliefs and what you believe deep down about who you are. Your beliefs dictate a lot of what happens in your subconscious. And so that is going to be another challenge that we're going to go through. But for now, on an emotional side, as we're talking about this neuroattraction model, it really comes down to what is the emotion behind everything. And it's probably not what you think that it is, because we talk about emotions and we go to like, how am I feeling about things? And that's a great indicator of where you are, but it doesn't define what is happening in your subconscious. So what we want to do is learn how to create a connection with how you're feeling and the energetic emotion or the energetic energy that's behind those emotions. And when we create a connection between those things, that creates a stronger signal for people to feel. And so we want to take the things that we feel on the inside and be able to know how to intentionally project those on the outside so people can feel that what you're offering is something that's safe, is something that's going to work for them, that feels in alignment with them. All right, so we're going to be talking about this emotional signal that you are putting out into the world. All right, so this is what we're going to call the electromagnetic field. Now, this electromagnetic field, we often talk about like how we have a personal bubble, right? You actually energetically, you do have an energetic bubble. It goes out about your fingertips. And that's how big your bubble is all the way around. And so people can feel, especially when we're in person, when you talk about like how the energy, if you've ever been to an event where there's a lot of people, maybe it was a concert or a convention of some kind, and the energy in the room is just electrifying. The reason that it gets that way is because everybody literally is sharing an electromagnetic field and people can feel it. They know that it's there. And if you have a good person who's leading that, who understands the energy of the human body, they're going to be able to raise the vibration and you're going to leave that place feeling like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so you have an electromagnetic field. And the challenge that we have as entrepreneurs in this space, especially where we're so digital, is you have to learn how to take your energy field that's out here and project that onto the internet. And sometimes that is really tricky to know how to do that. So your emotions are going to set the stage for that energy. And so when we're talking about attraction, when we're talking about the people that we want to bring into our space, we really have to step into what is it that you want people to feel? Do you know what it is that you want them to feel? When you are putting posts out on social media, when you are creating lives or creating reels, or however you show up online, maybe it's a YouTube video, any of those things, anytime somebody on the other side of the screen is interacting with you, they're feeling an emotion that you are creating. And so are you being intentional about that? There have been plenty of times where I've sat down and was like, okay, I need to be posting on social media. And so I sat down to write a post and I was just feeling off. I was maybe bugged about something or upset with so and so. I'll give you a specific example. How long ago was maybe 4 weeks it's been now. I woke up in the morning and normally I do my like super focused work. I would go into town, which is about 25 minutes for me because we live in the middle of nowhere. But I was driving into town with my son. He was going to go to a class. And then while he was in his class, that was my like super highly focused hour and a half that I got to work. And on the way into town, we hit a deer and we had a brand new, well, it was new to me. It was an older car, but it totaled the car. Airbags went off and shattered the windshield. It totaled my car. I was so upset. And so I knew that I was planning on, when I got to work, I was planning on writing a post. And then later I was like, oh, I didn't get that post out. So I just wrote a post, but I was still really, really upset. This post wasn't intended to be something that had a lot of contentious energy, but that's exactly what ended up happening. And so when I put that post out, it was like, oh, this is not what I intended. And a lot of people interacted with that post that didn't go the way that I had intended it to. And so when you are putting yourself out there, when you are putting your offer out there, when you are creating anything that's going to bring people into your space, whatever that may be. Like I said, it could be a reel, it could be a live, it could be just a written post, it could even be a static picture. When you're putting those things out, are you intentionally identifying what it is that you want them to feel? Okay. So as we look at the emotional side of things, being intentional about how I want people to feel is super, super, super important. We're going to get into that just a little bit more. But I want to talk about music first before we get into specifics of how you want people to feel. Music has a direct effect on the way that our body functions, even down to the neurochemistry, the neurotransmitters that are fired off in your brain. So dopamine and serotonin, all of these things are can be directly related with music. So anytime I sit down to write anything, anytime I'm going to produce something that goes out into the world of like, hey, I want to bring you into this space, I am always listening to music. Because when you feel a specific way, when you produce something, that energy that you feel is produced right alongside of it. And this is why people don't, they can be putting posts out and they can be writing all of the perfect things. I've had landing pages that I've paid thousands of dollars for people to like tweak and make it just right so the conversion rates are really high. And then it doesn't perform very well. It doesn't end up going anywhere that I anticipated that it was. And it wasn't necessarily that the words weren't right. It has very little to do with the words. And it has everything to do with the way that you feel when you are producing it. And so we can actually go in and I'm going to say alter the frequency that's going out when you are producing things. So when we have music as part of this, we can actually help people resonate with your message based on the emotion that we put into it. So if you've studied any of this kind of work before, and there's a really amazing book called Power versus Force, and it's by David Hawkins. But he put together this map of consciousness. Now, this is something that I use all of the time because it explains the energy behind what it is that we're doing. And it takes it down from this like woo-woo level where we talk about frequencies and vibrations and all of those kind of things, which are real, but we don't always have our fingers on them. And this puts it into something that I can tangibly see and make a little bit more sense of. So I want to explain this really fast so you know how to use it so you can be in a place where you are attracting people, okay? So on the bottom in the red, the shame, guilt, apathy, and grief, these are all emotions that we feel, but they vibrate. You can see where it says the energetic log. That's the level at which they vibrate. They are extremely, extremely low. When you have somebody who's in this red line, they will not take action on anything. They just they almost are just there. You think about apathy is one that apathy is one that I actually have a lot of experience with because I have struggled with depression in sometimes it's an ongoing thing for me, but most of the time I have it under control because I understand the energy behind them. But anybody in this red level, when you're in this state of hopelessness, there isn't much that we can do to bring you up out of that. This is a place where you almost have to have someone who literally walks by your side and pulls you out of it, or they have to choose for themselves. But anybody in that red box isn't going to take action. If you bring somebody down that low on the energy level, you have to work to bring them back up. And so we can do this through music. This is going to be music that is like your heavy metals are going to be down here. This is where like really, so when I was in high school, I listened to like my mom always called it screamo music. Those are the kind of frequencies that are down here in this red. You listen to that kind of music when you are putting things together, and you're going to bring the energy level of whatever it is that you're producing down into this red column. And you are not going to find anybody who takes action on that. Your sweet spot, if you want people to take action, to be buying whatever it is that you have, to be aligning and start working with you, the sweet spot is really between the orange and the yellow. That is the area where you want to bring people in. Now, this is really interesting because look at the emotions that are there. Anger. This is fear, a desire. So they're not always like the heavy negative. But if you look at any marketing, so I have paid thousands and thousands of dollars on marketing, and the number one thing that people always say is fear sells. You look at the news, you look at anything that's going on around you, and there is so much fear in the world. And the reason is because it gets people to take action. It's right down at the bottom, that 100 mark, where people are like, I can't do this anymore, and they want to go. But as soon as that fear dips down into apathy, they're not going to do anything. And so the reason that negative things work, the reason that we focus on what not to do, the reason that we um, focus on like, what are your dreams? What are your goals? Where is it that you want to be? That's the desire down there. Orange to yellow really is that sweet spot where you are going to get people to step up and say, yeah, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be put into a place where I have to feel like this anymore. I want to fix my health. I want to become better at what it is that I do. I want to, help people. If you're going to do that, you have to bring them down into a place where they're either frustrated with something, that they're angry about something, or like stroking the ego kind of thing. That's the pride that's there in the yellow. When you understand this frequency level, now you can be able to bring people down into a place where you want them to take action. Now there's an art to doing this because we want to put them up in those cooler colors where they feel loved, they feel accepted, they feel even just being neutral. Like, I mean, if you've ever had a sales call where people are like, whatever, like I could or I could not, they're really in that neutral place. They're not going to take action because they're outside of that sweet spot of yellow and orange. Anytime that we are in a neutral place, we can have conversations, we can interact with people, but they're not going to want to take action because they're more in a neutral place. So once we get above into these warmer colors, again, people aren't going to take action. So if you bring them to a place where they feel that love, where they feel joy and peace and happiness and all of those things that are really, really high, they're going to want to stay there. They're going to want to stay up in the clouds. So back at the beginning, we talked about your mission. Your mission should be so big that it resonates up here in the 6, 7, 8, 900 range. That's what your mission should allow you to feel. So I want you to reflect back on the mission. I hope you wrote that down. When you reflect back on that, that is really good. But the reason that we can't take action on that mission, one, it should be big enough that you can't connect with it. There should be a lot of steps between where you are now and where it is that you want to go. But it's in this place of bliss that you actually can't reach it. And it's not a place that we know how to take action. We know how to take action down here between 100 and 200. That's where we take action all the time. Think about like your house can be really messy and it's like, my house is so messy. I need to like clean it up. I really need to get on top of my house. But you don't. You just leave it until it gets to the point where like, I can't take this anymore. And then you go and clean your house. So for me, in my business, when I finally got to a point that I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I know what it is that I'm supposed to do. And I finally, like, I told you that I went on this 2.5 year detour. I didn't start coming back until I got mad at myself for walking away from something that I knew I was meant to do. And so I had to come down from a place of acceptance and neutrality. And I wasn't really, really high. I was just barely above that place where I couldn't take action. Action only happens in that orange and yellow spot. That is your sweet spot. And so as you are working with people, you actually want to use a full range of emotions because people desire those higher numbers. They want to know it's possible. They want to know whatever it is that you're going to do for them is going to help them feel like they're vibrating all the way at the top. But they're not going to take action up there. So you have to know how to pull them back down. So when we are listening to music, anytime you listen to something that is going to be, sometimes I'll listen to like worship kind of music because that's going to put me in the like 350 range. Sometimes I'll listen to classical music. I'll go look up, now I just forgot his name. I'll listen to like Bach or something like that, but that's going to be up in like 500 range. Okay, so it's okay for you to allow people to feel up here, but you have to know how to bring them down when you want them to take action. And so being able to feel this range of emotions is really good for you to understand so that as you are bringing people into their space, if all they're ever feeling is fear when they're in your space, they're going to be like, I don't want anything to do with her because that is all just scary and hard and it doesn't sound very fun. You want to allow them to feel a range of emotions. But if you're allowing them to feel a range of emotions and then you say, hey, this is something that I want to work on, and you are presenting this opportunity or you're presenting your offer to them when they're at that 350, 400 range, they're not going to take action on that. Music can help us be able to bring this range of emotion depending on what it is that you're working on. Again, this is all in that production space because that's the first step before we actually ever put anything out into the world. You have to understand this range of frequencies, where people are at, so that you know how to help them to be able to get them to say, yes, I want to be able to take this on and help myself. And so understanding this map of consciousness is going to help you be able to say, okay, what is it that I want people to feel? What is it that I want people to resonate with? And when you're writing an offer for something, you're going to be, so, I mean, if you've studied marketing, they're going to tell you like 1 in every 5 to 10 pieces of content that you put out there, depending on medium that you're using. Social media is typically 1 in every 5. Email is, I just learned that it's 1 in every 10. So you want to be having a range of emotions when people are interacting with you. So maybe you're going to do a post that is at the 500 range. Then you're going to come down to the neutral range and do it around 250. Then you're going to bring them back up and do maybe something around the 700 range and put them in that state of enlightenment. Then you're going to bring them back down into the fear, into the anger, into pride. This is what's going to help them be able to want to take action. It's when we feel the range of emotions that people are going to say, oh, actually, they're normal. They're not, if you've ever interacted with people, I won't say his name, but there was somebody who came onto my feed and my kids were looking at him and I was like, oh, he has this life where he's always in front of the private jets and my life is amazing and don't you want all of this? And he stays at such a high level all the time. He doesn't get vulnerable. He stays up in the higher range all the time. And it sounds awesome, but that's not something that is going to relate to me because my life is up and down. I have these range of emotions. And when you show people that there's this range of emotions, that is actually going to build that trust in you so that people are able to say, yeah, I think she's going to understand what I'm going through, or she gets what this is all about, because there's this range of emotions that we go through, and people want to feel that. When they feel that, it creates a level of trust. It creates a level of understanding and creates this magnetic connection so that you are able to then create something that brings people in, not because you say the magic words, not because you have the prettiest landing page, or because you have the perfect method of getting your information out there. No, it's because you know how the body works and you know that people are going to have high highs and low lows, and you know how to bring people around to be able to get them to the point where they can take action to help themselves. You know that if somebody is down in shame and, oh, I should this and I should that, that's somebody that you're going to have to either bring up to get them to take action, or you're going to have to be able to help them be able to move forward on those things. So understanding where people are in this level of consciousness on the emotional side helps immensely to be able to know what to do and how to interact with people and what energy you are projecting out into the world. Okay. All right. Let's go to the last step. This is the outcome step. And we talked about having or beginning with the end in mind. When you are aligned with what it is you're creating, where it is that you want to go, and you know exactly how to help people resonate with the mission that you've created, it is very natural for you to step into this place of creating this outcome, because people are drawn to those who are in alignment. I have people tell me all the time, like, oh, Trisha, I wish that my life was as organized as you are. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm all over the place. I homeschool my kids. I have multiple businesses. Like, I'm trying to run all of this stuff and keep up my house and all of these things. Like, my life is anything but organized, but I am in alignment. And so there may be parts of my life that feel chaotic, and that's actually not bad. People want to know that you're real, that you're human. But when you are in alignment, when you're connected with what it is that you're doing, people are literally drawn to that. You have all of these people who are like, how do I get that? How do I want? How do you do that? You know, I have people, because I homeschool, and I don't just like, I tell people I homeschool, but I homeschool 5 kids from high school down to preschool. Like, I'm in the thick of all of it. And people are always blown away by, like, how do you do all of the things that you do? And it's not because I have all my ducks together and my life is beautiful and I don't ever have struggles or problems, or, you know, I don't have this range of emotions that other people do. I mean, I just told you that I have struggled with depression for years and years and years. I just understand how to say this is a piece that I am not going to allow to dictate my day or what it is I'm doing, because this is the alignment that I feel. And that depression is over here. It's not going to define what it is I do or how I structure my day or how I show up for all of the different things. And so I don't allow my business to take over what I'm doing with my kids. I don't allow things to mesh where they're not supposed to be, because that's out of alignment. But I can have all of the things that I desire because I know how to stay in alignment. That's the outcome that you want to help people create. And you're only going to be able to create that alignment and that connection when you understand, how do you want them to feel? You have to know, where are they resonating? What is it that they want to be able to connect with? And that resonating is the range of emotions. That means being vulnerable at times. That means sharing dreams and goals and aspirations at times. That means creating a path that is connected so that you are able to move forward and help them to be able to create this outcome. So I want you to take just a minute. I'm going to give you guys, I don't know, maybe just a minute or two. And I want you to go back through these 3 steps, because this electromagnetic field that we've been talking about is really the foundation to everything that we do in attracting the people that we want. So I want you to look at, what is this outcome that you're wanting to create? So Carrie Lynn talked about how you want to bring in these high-end designers to be able to create these window treatments for them. That's awesome. The only way that those people are going to come into that space is you have to resonate with them on some level. You have to be able to create alignment with that. And Ursula talked about your mornings. So Ursula, for you, if you put something in your morning that maybe doesn't fit, or maybe your energy is off that morning, I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, I really just don't want to work out. And there's a lot of people who are like, do it anyways, like force yourself, you have to get there. And you will feel better when you push yourself into that, when you force yourself into that place. But anytime we bring in force energy, it hurts the emotional side of that emotional piece of our body more than the physical benefit. And so you're going to have consequences to that later. So for Ursula, for you, when you are looking at this outcome, what is it that you want to create? Especially, what is it that you want people to feel in alignment with the mission that you're creating? Having a morning routine that allows for a little bit of wiggle room and a little bit of movement is actually going to help you stay in a place of alignment. So for me, I have a morning, I guess you could call it a morning circle, but I have all of the things that this is what fills my cup, which is most important for me to do before I go out and I give to my kids, or I do something for my business, or I'm giving in other places. I have to fill my cup first. And I have 4 or 5 different things that I can pull from based on where I'm at that day. And so on a physical side, maybe it's walking, maybe it's lifting weights, maybe it's doing yoga, maybe it is, doing a HIIT class. Like I can change things around based on what's going to keep me in alignment. So I have something physical, I have something mental. So I'm going to read things. Maybe I'm going to read something from my Bible. Maybe I'm going to read a book that's inspirational. Maybe I'm going to read something historical, but I want it to fill my cup. And I pick and choose different things based on what's going to keep me in alignment that day. So this is the process that I want you to create when you are thinking about attracting high quality people. What is it that you want to do? Do you know the emotion that you want to resonate with? Or sorry, that you want them to feel, the energy you want them to resonate with? And then what is it that you want to create at the end of that. So take just a minute and think about this outcome. Think about how everything comes together to keep you in alignment so that you can then show up in a way that people are then drawn to that. I want you to drop done in the comments when you have something put together for this outcome. When you pull it all together, throw done in the comments so that I know you're ready to move on. Perfect. Okay. So we're gonna move on. This is where I want to workshop a little bit together because we can get perfect. All right, we can get your energy in alignment, and it's all about bringing in the right frequencies, bringing in the right emotions, making sure that everything is in alignment. But if you're not taking the steps to actually sharing information, if people don't know that you have something to share, if people don't know that this is what you're creating, then it actually isn't going to help you very much. And so I want you to write something, whether that is a post for Facebook or an Instagram story, or if that is something that you're going to send in an email to people. I want you to write something using the techniques that we worked on today. I want you to write something about what it is that you have to offer. If you don't have a specific broken down offer that's all nice and pretty, that's okay. Just tell us a little bit about what you do. We did that a little bit in the introductions this morning, but I want you to take the specifics that we talked about. Find music that's going to resonate on that frequency scale, something that is in between the orange and the yellow. Now, a lot of times I get people are like, well, I don't know, like, what music is that? You have to think about how you feel when you are in that space. You have to think about what does it invoke in you? Because if it brings it up in you, it's more than likely going to bring it up in the people that you're looking for. And so there's a lot of times when I am writing, I have a playlist on my phone that is for this kind of thing specifically. And I have things on that playlist from like fun dancing music that I listened to in high school. I have kids right now that love country music, and it just makes me want to like get up and dance. So I'm not necessarily feeling like, oh, I'm just angry, even though anger is in that yellow and orange space. I'm not feeling angry, but I'm feeling ready to move. I'm feeling really good about things, and then my words can bring in the other emotions. But I'm in a space of like, yeah, let's do this. Let's get going. Sometimes I need worship music. And that is going to put me in a space where I'm in the yellow or orange. But that worship music is also going to be something that doesn't make me want to just like sit back and soak it all in. And this is all really good. It's like, yeah, this is what the world needs. This is where we're going. And so I'm listening to music when I'm writing everything. If I'm writing scripts, if I'm writing a post, if I'm writing an email, if I'm writing a landing page, every time I'm writing something, I am listening to music. I'm listening to the things that are going to put me into a place where I can be attracting the people who are going to need exactly what it is that I am offering at that time. And so I want you to write something. This is going to be your homework for today. This is something, so um, if you're not in our private community yet, maybe I should drop the link for that. I'll grab the link. If you are not in let's see, I'll open a new window. I'll grab the link. If you're not in our community yet, I don't have it on Facebook. We're not on Facebook because I wanted a place that is for you specifically, that I can share what I want to share without any limitations. So it's in a group called Heartbeat. And I'm going to pull up the link and drop that in the chat. You can also find it in your email. And I will send it out with the replay for this as well. But I want you to take your homework for today. I want you to write something. If you can write something and share with us, what emotion are you trying to invoke? What energy do you want them to feel when you wrote this post? Then that will open it up so that we can look at like, how are you doing at attracting all of that? What are you doing at, or how are you doing at creating that electromagnetic energy to pull people in? If you can do that, your ability to attract the right people is going to increase dramatically. So let's come back here, drop this in the notes. Sorry, I didn't have that up for you. If you are not in the community, I know Carrie Lynn is, I don't know if Ursula is or not yet. But as you are going through all of this, I want you to write down a post of some kind. You can have a hard offer, you can have a soft offer. What you write isn't as important, but I want you to get into this state. Focus really heavily today on the emotional side. Remember, I'm gonna teach you tools that you can use, just like music on the emotional side. You're gonna have tools to help the other three get in alignment. But I want you to practice using that this time. As you post your homework, you are going to then be qualified for the giveaways that we're doing this week. So I have a $25 Amazon gift card that we're going to give away to, my goal is to give away 3 of them. And so to qualify for that, I want you to be posting your homework in our group inside the community. Then we can be helping each other, supporting each other, and practicing these things. The more you can put them into action, the better you're going to be at becoming the person that you want to become. And so there's a journey that we really are embarking on together. And I often work with people and I talk about how, like, you can't know who you are becoming until you know where it is that you are going. And so I take them through an exercise where I talk to them about, like, where is it that you want to be at the end of your life? And when you look at that final stage, when you look back at what you did in your life, are you going to be disappointed at the potential you could have done and the gap of where you were? That gap, that disconnect of the potential that you have and where it is that you want, where you ended up being, the things you thought you were capable of, You're capable of so much more, but it requires action. It requires you taking the information that you're learning and moving forward into becoming who it is, so you're reaching that potential instead of just leaving it out for someone else to capture up. I want you to be reaching that potential. I want you to be showing up in the way that you can right now, influencing all of the people that you can right now and creating that difference. So do the homework, put in that little bit of effort. There is a group in there. Right now, it's pretty small. It's an intimate group. So you're going to get the attention. You're going to get the one-on-one help to help you get into the place where you can step into state on this emotional level. If you can do that, that's going to end up being able to turn things around and start attracting the people that you need to. So that is all we have for today. Do either of you have any questions? Do you want to look into any of this at all, or are you just ready to jump in and do your homework?
Was in that same portal, is that grid that you shared with the moods, is that in there also, or do you mind showing it again so I could take a screenshot of it?
I will put it in the group.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
I don't think it is there right now, but it will be in
Okay.
about seconds. So then you can
No
have
big-
it and you don't have to worry about losing it. You can,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, no problem. Any other questions?
No, that was wonderful.
Awesome. Okay, well, we will be back here tomorrow. The same time, the Zoom link will be the same. I will make sure that I send that out before we are ready to go. So if you have any questions or whatever, but I would love to be able to see you all tomorrow. And we're going to talk about the next piece. We'll go into more of the physical, tangible, what is it that I need to do to start attracting people? And if you have any questions, I am here for anything, just let me know. Okay.
Thank you.
Also, thanks, Trisha.
All right. Have a good day, ladies. We'll see you
You
tomorrow.
too.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.